I'm Paulina Leiser, producer of Focus Today. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure to check our other videos at theDove.us.
All right, welcome back, and hey, what a delight, we found him. Alan DeBoer is with us, former mayor of Ashland and now candidate for state senator, the position that was recently vacated by the late Alan Bates. And good to see you, Alan. How you doing?
Thank you. Very good.
Yeah.
Tough to be here under these circumstances.
Yeah.
Senator / Dr. Bates used to be my neighbor and was a friend and was one of the great guys. So.
He was a true statesman. And a friend of ours, a friend of the family, and I enjoyed having him on the show often. So, but somebody's got to fill that seat and represent that district, and you've decided to do that.
So we're deep into it, yes.
All right. What do you see now as the issues for your area and your district and for the state? How do you categorize your concerns here?
Well, certainly the environmental issues. We look outside and we see the smoke from the fires. You know, when I was a mayor, we started the Ashland Forest Resiliency Project, and there are thinning and things we can do in the forest that helps the fires not get so hot. And we certainly need to dedicate resources to fight the fires, and thank goodness we kept the Tinker base here.
Yeah.
But we need to put them out when they're small, maybe not to get them started to start with. And if we do, make sure that what Ashland's been doing for the last 15 years now is thinning the watershed and making it so that if there is a fire there, it's not as hot, it's quick, it doesn't damage the big trees. Mm-hmm. And that's been a relatively successful project. I was concerned when we first announced it just because Ashland and controversy, so I spent some time with the people on Granite Street where the logging trucks were going, and then followed up after the first phase was done. And we actually made a small profit, and so it didn't cost the city basically anything. But the residents said, oh, we didn't even notice them. So I think it was 200 or 300 logging trucks. Yeah,
well, but the management of that has paid off. You've got a clean base or a clean floor, and you're pretty well protected.
I think you could always do more, and of course it provides lumber for houses.
Right.
It provides jobs.
Right.
And it helps the environment, because I don't know, this smoke is probably one of the biggest dangers for health in Southern Oregon and tourism. We can remember Shakespeare shutting down some plays last year. Thought we'd got by this year, but the fire down in Syed is
pretty extensive, 5,500 acres as we speak. What about jobs? What can you see to be done to attract more jobs, or at least living wage jobs in the area?
Well, Measure 97, which is a 2.5% gross receipts tax, isn't the way to get there.
No.
I mean, you need to make a business-friendly climate, and we need good-paying jobs that pay lots of taxes. I mean, we can talk about corporations don't pay taxes. I just don't feel that's true. And I can't believe with public corporations like Lithia and Nike and others, their tax returns are readily available. And I think as a business community, we can do better to defend ourselves of what we actually contribute to the economy. And certainly payroll taxes, property taxes. You know, my brother started Lithia as a public corporation, and most areas would just love to have a public corporation that's a Fortune 500 company come to their community, and you'd actually give them huge tax credits, as we did to Nike several years ago. But now we put a 2.5% gross receipts tax, which will affect everybody. We expect groceries to go up 5%. Trucking costs, anybody that's dealing with a large corporation, and of course car dealerships usually net 1.5% to 2.5% of gross sales. So if we make a state tax at gross sales, and we get to 25 million fairly quickly just because of the cost of our product. So Lithia will actually pay more on that gross receipts taxes than their entire net income.
This is crazy, and of course we've tracked it to find out how it came about, why it came about, where is it going, and it does have some support among the liberals and people who've never made a payroll, by the way, certainly champion this thing. I'm looking at it and I'm going, I can't believe we're dealing with it. I think this is a good reason, folks, why you need to put a Republican in that Senate seat. because we know that most liberals or Democrats are going to vote for this. So to pick up the Senate seat would be absolutely critical. On the other hand, Alan, it seems to not poll well throughout the state. Is a lot of people who do want it, a lot of people are seeing through it to what it really is and what the residual impact would be to the overall economy of the state. How do you sense the feel of it?
Well, I kind of like Oregon not having a sales tax, and it doesn't pass every time it's up. And this is the sales tax in disguise, burying it. If I was a public worker in Oregon, I would be really concerned that, we really need to protect jobs and protect our public employees' jobs. So if we stick a huge tax that says, the numbers, I kind of take numbers with a grain of salt, but I think the original has cost 33,000 jobs. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but creates 11,000 public workers' jobs. If we lose a bunch of high-paying incomes that are paying lots of income tax, and we gain a whole bunch more of public jobs, so when the next downturn hits, you're going to be laying off people because government will just collapse. And we need business people, service people that are creating high wage jobs, unions. I mean, it's all the workers that are paying. We need to create that and keep it going, but we need to kind of change Oregon. I don't know if I'd be a businessman, I'd want to come to Oregon, although we have the beautiful state, the natural resources, Mount Ashland, Mount Bachelor, Crater Lake, and the wonderful coast. So we have a reason for business owners to move here, but let's not dampen it by trying to make them pay for everything, which will cause them to move. They're a mobile. Lithia Motors corporate office downtown, what a wonderful building, and it pays a lot of taxes and employs, I don't know how many hundreds of people, all great high-paying jobs. For them to have to move their corporate headquarters. Also, I compete with SID or Lithia. I don't have to pay the 2.5%. If you look at a car, it's about $1,000 per car. So you're going to give my business $1,000 benefit against Lithia.
Right.
And I don't think that's right in anybody's mind.
Well, I'm hoping between now and October it continues to get a lot of publicity. We talk a lot about here during our news segments as well. And I got to tell you, folks, this thing's got to go down in flames. And I would imagine sometime now, after the Labor Day weekend, between now and November, you're going to see competing ads for this thing. But more importantly, is sending somebody to Salem that would oppose it and look for other ways to grow business in the state. Most of the stuff, Alan, as you well know, you've been around the block, you've been in politics, all of the stuff always gets disguised in education, infrastructure, and all these things, and you got ODOT that doesn't seem, it's got its problems. How do you look at the state budget from your perspective?
Budgets for me are really easy, and the way government accounting is, there's expenses, you're usually twice. So just look at the income. That'll tell you the budget. It's really easy in Ashland City budget, which I understand well, is look at the income. So, income may be 70 million, but the budget is like 120 million. So, we really need to elect some people that understand money.
Living within our means, yeah.
I think you'd be surprised to see. Now, the governor quoted the other day in the paper that Oregon had the lowest tax rate of corporations in the United States. I just don't believe that to be true. Yeah. And the mailer on 97 says the same thing. So I'm going to ask some people to do some research, because everything I show is that we're not the lowest by quite a ways.
If we were, people would be running here to do business.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Yeah, they don't.
Oregon's not known as a business-friendly economy. It's known as natural resources and beautiful, and of course, fishing and outdoor activities. Or, we have a great state. We need to protect it.
Okay, but from what I understand, 97 basically says, yeah, we want to raise money to go to these places, but the actual distribution that Measure 97 would raise is at the discretion of the governor?
Well, at the legislature and the Senate.
Yeah.
So
it's just a pool of money. They can decide what they want to do with it.
There's checks and balances. Now, I'm a pretty liberal Republican, and I think I help Democrats by being in the Republican Party. Because once we get elected, we need to be an Oregonian. And we shouldn't have this fight. I went up and spent a little bit of time with the late Senator Bates and Peter Buckley, and it was like they weren't even talking to the other side. There was no communications. Everybody says the best legislative sessions we had when we were 50-50 and we had co-chairs. I'd almost say we ought to have co-chairs even if there is more on one side than the other, no matter which that is. But we need to go up there and fix problems. I mean, I spent some time with the students at SOU the other day, and their big thing is they wanted me to know if and they were interviewing both candidates, so they wanted to know if I would sign off on limiting the maximum increase for student tuition to 4% instead of 5%. And I thought, what a sad thing, because we shouldn't be increasing their tuition at all. Nothing better than our education system and higher ed, and these students are graduating with massive amounts of student debt. I mean, beyond any reasonable doing working classes in both the high school.
And they can't get a job to service the debt.
Well, we need to teach people to be plumbers and construction and welders, and we've kind of removed that from our public schools. And we need to get it back. Vocational training has to be one of the great things, because that's really the backbone of America and Oregon.
Wow. All right, so tell us why you're doing this. You don't really have to do this. You can go fishing, oversee your businesses. You obviously love your state. You love your community. You've served Ashland well as mayor for quite a few years. Why step up and stick your nose in this?
Which is what my wife asked me.
I'm praying for Becky.
So Becky and I have been married 44 years. We both were born in Ashland. I have, for the last, I guess, 40 years, have volunteered for almost everything that you'll encounter in life. Whether it's senior care, trustee, probate, Historical Society, Mount Ashland, helped create the YMCA into what it is today, helped RCC move into downtown Medford. And I've been really successful at stepping into boards, stepped onto the hospital board and helped transition that to the Asante Health System. I'm on Asante's finance committee and their building committee. And so when I turned 65, which wasn't very long ago, I'm sitting and say, what do you do with all this knowledge you've gained? And then Peter Buckley announced his retirement. And I signed up really at the last minute. Really wanted to do campaign finance reform, so I was limiting contributions, trying to run a real grassroots campaign, get out to the people and talk. And then Senator Bates passed away. And moved into the Senate race, which I think you can do a little bit more in Salem than the House. There's 30 senators, for those that don't know, and 60 House of Representatives. So both the two districts in Medford combined to make one Senate district. Right. So now, of course, campaign finance is off the table because we need to get elected. Yeah. Everybody said I didn't have a chance to win the House seat, which was okay with me, because let's try some experiments and see if we can change politics in Oregon. Right. Now we're in the same, so we'll have to worry about that after we're elected. I do believe in campaign finance reform. I think Senator Bates and Dave Dodder spent over $1.5 million 2 years ago. Yeah. And for the media, we're doing a great thing. We'll probably spend $1 million between the Democratic candidate and myself, and the parties will put a lot of money and effort into it. Yeah. It's a little overwhelming, I have to tell you. Yeah,
it really is. All right, so people who want to work on your campaign, get a hold of you. What's the best way to do it?
Our website, allenfororegon.com, should be up today.
Okay.
Or tomorrow. As you know, we're just nominated last Tuesday, so deadlines, I hate deadlines, so we had to do the voters pamphlet, had to be done by 5 o'clock today. Yeah. And we had to transfer the paper from the House seat to the Senate seat, and so accounts and OrStar, which is a great program in the state of Oregon, where we have to report all of our income.
I gotta go. Let me tell our viewers and friends, go to allenfororegon.com, and we'll have you on again before the race is over.
Good. Give us a couple days. You can hit my old seat, which was Allen for state representative, and it'll transfer. So
All right, good.
Great.
Good to see you. Best to you.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, we'll see you next time.